Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis. It's the Comic Book Roundtable. This week I have back with me Mike, Sergeant America. How's it going, sir?
Doing great. It's good to see everybody enjoying the 605. And of course, you know me, the best reggae singer in South Dakota.
Nice. And also with us, we have back once again, we have Fred. How's it going, sir?
I can't follow that up.
Right, I was going to say, I'm out.
Yeah, like Mike goes last next time.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll make him go last next time. Alrighty then. We once again flip the imaginary three-sided coin. It, of course, always lands on Marvel. So we're going to talk Marvel books first. What do we want to talk about Marvel-wise?
Mr. Captain America?
Issue number 3. Of the Coates Run book, right?
Yes, yep.
So what are you thinking, Mike?
I like it. The thing is I'm actually I listen to some other people's podcast and other people's information, and I found out I really like the Sharon story because it's something new and different for me. I enjoyed the Captain story with the action and the fighting and that, but I realize I'm a little tired of the throw a shield, block a bullet, do a punch, do a kick. It is great, traditional Captain America, but I've seen it, yeah. And it's getting a little one note to me. Even as much as I like Nuke as these nukes, and he's got to fight all of them, it's just, it seems like a slow tread right now. And not so slow or bad that it's like 10, I guess, in my opinion on that. And it's obviously shown me that the Sharon mystery spy adventure part of this is what I'm enjoying more. I mean, I can't wait to see what happens to Sharon on this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, there's a brief moment in this where he's talking about all these nuke clones. You know, they're soldiers, I'm a soldier. You know, we kind of heard that. You know, that line of thought from Captain America, you know, quite a bit. That's pretty standard. Which part of me is okay with that because it is the Captain America thing, but at the same time, like you're saying, it's one note. But otherwise, these nuke clones in this issue could have been anybody. They could have been Hydra. They could have been, you know, whatever, because they were fairly meaningless. They were window dressings to our narration. To me, the art was static because the conversation that goes on and most of it really has nothing to do with the narration. I mean, it does, but it just does. I don't know. The Captain America stuff has not moved anywhere. I don't feel like. You know, we briefly get this moment where he shows up and he's wearing the baseball cap and the hoodie, and he's just sitting in America trying to figure out what a middle America is. And the middle of America has basically signed on to thinking that Hydra is great, even though Hydra's gone. They still think Hydra was great. This other power company, this other private corporation has kind of moved in and taken over Hydra's doing exactly what Hydra was doing, providing schools, beating up the criminals, making middle America wholesome, but at the same time implying that middle America has actually been duped, that there's some corrupt thing going on that they need to figure out, right?
Yes. Yeah, which is, I mean, something I guess I feel like it's been touched on before with most of these other ones where it shows, yes, we do want what's ever best, or easiest maybe is a way of saying it in this, that there's somebody that we're asking for. So, a lot of us don't challenge ourselves to dig deeper or go for our morals, like a lot of us compromise our more work for our life and all that. We don't fight every single fight that's out there. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, that's what he's trying to show. The other thing, of course, I always struggle with too, is Captain America is big, beefy, strong, and very charismatic. I don't know that a hoodie hat really hides that. Because he was the leader of Hydra. Everybody saw him on TV. Everybody has seen him for the last 50 years. That's also why I don't understand why he wears a mask sometimes, because he's been revealed so often that people know what he looks like. So if George W. Bush has a hat and a hoodie on, and he comes up next to me. He's like, "So what do you think of America?" I'm like, "I know who you are, and I know who Captain America is." I guess that suspension of disbelief has always been a little silly to me too. Whenever I see it in any comic that they do this way.
Yeah, I mean, I agree because of the whole Hydra, because he was the president and whatnot. I would say outside of that, even though people know that he's Captain America and whatnot, if you're seen in a uniform all the time and you're not you're out of that uniform, as somebody who used to work in an industry where I wore a uniform all the time, the second you're not in that uniform, people you literally talk to every single day suddenly do not know who you are. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So I guess to some degree, the in uniform, out of uniform thing, but the fact that he was the face, the evil version of him or whatever was the face of the United States for a while. It makes it kind of hard. I don't know. I mean, there are elements of this I like, and there are elements I don't. I still think the pacing's a little wonky. I don't know that. I still think that Coates hasn't completely mastered. This is how you write a comic book, or not how I want to read a comic book, maybe. And I'm not super excited by the art in it, and I'm not sure whether it's the subject matter, because like you commented on, it's the same. We're literally seeing the same scenes over and over. It's like I could crack open a Kirby version of Captain America and see the exact poses, except Kirbyized. So yeah, I don't know on that part if it's that or it's just I'm not as excited about it. I'm gonna keep reading for a while because I'm curious to see what they're gonna do. Like you, I'm more interested in the Sharon part of the story. You know, Sharon's now working for the government. She has these handlers. They're taking her to this base. The handlers clearly are bad. You know, she figures out because she's smart that they're actually bad guys. You know, she basically takes them out and then encounters. I don't know who that is at the end of it. My Marvel knowledge is a little weak unless people are drawn specific ways that I understand who they are. So is that somebody I'm supposed to know who that is?
I believe it was something that in a series that I was not reading either, so I do not know who that is. Okay. Somebody else mentioned it on a show. The other thing is yes, with the artwork, Leanne Francis Yu, I loved his artwork in Superior, and so I think if there's a short series, he's doing all right. But if he has to maybe crank it out, some things kind of feel a little rushed in his artwork. Okay. I was also a big fan of Ezekiel Stane, who was an Iron Man villain last time I saw him, who was manipulating. It was almost like an Armor Wars 2. It was people that had the low-tech suits that would battle Iron Man all the time.
Oh, right.
And Zeke kind of up the suits and made them a little bit better, and then has almost a copy of Iron Man's suit. So to move him over to Captain America, I was kind of hoping a little bit more came out of it, but it made sense that he was fixing the nukes. He was making them a lot, making them decent. But it was kind of a little disappointing that he looked like he, I don't know, bit down on a capsule and was foaming in the mouth, or they overrode his brain and it looked like he kind of got fried. So
Right. And I don't know what the relevance to them being hooked up with Black Panther is.
Right. Well, I'm guessing the former series, since it's the same writer.
Right. Okay. So cool. Fred, you got any Marvel books you want to talk about?
One of the books I've been waiting like months since they announced it was going to come out. As Guardians of the Galaxy #1 came out last week. And it's the right kind of dumb for me to enjoy for like a Thor spinoff. It's a tie into the Infinity Wars book, which I have no idea what's going on there either. But it's just all these side characters from the Thor books grouped together in their own little team to try to do something, and they run into Nebula at the end. But it's just cool to see all these side characters teaming up, and like they bring back Thunderstrike, and they even make fun of like how irrelevant he's been for the last decade. And they're like, we have warriors, we have assassins, we have a Thunderstrike, and he's just like, I'm right here. Like,
nice.
It's like they're kind of getting together, and there's scenes like out of the Infinity War movie where all the dwarves are killed, things like that. But you have the Destroyer, Thunderstrike, Scourge, Angela, Valkyrie, Throg all working together. And the last page reveal is that there's somebody hidden inside of the Destroyer and it's Kid Loki from way back.
Right.
And Angela and him are working together to stop whatever is supposedly happening on the bigger scale. But this is really just an introductory issue to like tell you who everybody is and set you up if you're not familiar, which was good for me because like I'm not super familiar with all these characters, but it's still a fun ride.
Right.
And
cool.
Colin Bunn's writing it. So.
Nice. Now, see, that's a book I would never touch because it just to me feels like a blend of things that I wouldn't be interested in, but it might have fun characters in it, huh?
Yeah, it's for me just being a Thor tie-in type thing. I'm gonna pick it up and try it.
Wow, cool.
It's interesting they brought Kid Loki in because doesn't that seem like like he was wiped out to make Loki, wasn't he?
Yeah.
In that series, the last series?
Yeah, the Agents of Asgard series. No, Agent of Asgard. Yeah, he was died out. I think. I didn't finish that run yet.
All right. What's your feeling on the Frog Thor?
I think it's just a fun little addition, especially when like just trying to describe it to my coworkers how ridiculous it is.
Yeah, there's lots of people who aren't aware of that. I was like, my kids are that way. I'm like, yeah, at one point Thor was a frog, and they're like, what? No, it wasn't. Like, no, seriously, they wouldn't believe me until I dug up enough pictures of it to show them. They're like, oh, yeah.
I think in Thor 700, Aaron brings him back for like a cameo, and I think that's why they use him in this. Mm-hmm. But like he goes through like all these where are they? It's the race of beings that like Korg is, and like those guys, the Cronins, I think. Mm-hmm. He blasts through all of them and then ribbits, and like thunder just strikes everywhere. Like thunder and lightning just comes crashing down.
Awesome.
Yeah.
See, and that's what kind of made me a little scared, is character like that, and then in Exiles, the cartoon Wolverine.
Exactly.
So,
but I hear that's a fun book too. But that's what kept me from getting. I'm like, okay. I mean, I like fun and silly books, but that was going to take it just a little farther than what I wanted, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe I should have tried it anyway. But yeah, because sometimes a fun book's okay. Have a book that's just silly too. So, another Marvel book that I picked up was The Immortal Hulk. This is issue number 5. This must be coming out like twice a month. It has to be. It seems like I'm getting it quite often, which is fine because this is probably my favorite book of the week. To be quite honest, the Marvel book is my favorite book of the week. So in this issue, Sasquatch comes back from the dead because these versions of the Hulk now, and anybody who's got the same kind of gamma radiation poisoning or whatever you call it that makes you the Hulk, you don't turn into the Hulk unless you're dead. You die and then get resurrected as the Hulk, and then you Hulk out for a while, and then you can go back into your body and you're alive again, and then you get murdered and you turn into the Hulk, and it seems to be the kind of the MO. So it's kind of, and there's always a monster in the mirror kind of a thing. So they're in the hospital. Sasquatch had been pronounced dead. He suddenly resurrects, and he's not acting like Walter, the guy who is Sasquatch, at all. He's really evil and diabolical and whatnot. And the Hulk and him get into a big brawling fight. The Hulk wants to know who he really is, and he ends up looking in a mirror, and he sees who Sasquatch really is, and I guess it's his dad, or it seems to be his dad, or it's the spirit of his dad has possessed Sasquatch. And I don't know Banner's relationship with his dad, other than it sounds like his dad was an abusive person or whatever. I have no idea.
Yeah. So
that must be deep. That's, I guess, diving into some deep history of Hulk. I do know that in these stories there has been some of that I know is just going right over my head because this is the first real Hulk I've been reading. But I really, like I said, really enjoying it. It has a creepier feel to it. It is getting more of the kind of, I don't know if I want to call it horror or Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of a feel, the not always in control kind of a thing, element to it. They refer to this a green door. They call it a green door. When the green door is open, anything can come in. And with the Hulk, when the green door opens up, of course, it's the Hulk that comes out. It's not some other personality, but there's an open green door with Sasquatch, and that's how this spirit of his dad or whatever came in, if that's really what it is. But we get a big fight, he ultimately wins because he actually literally, because he can absorb gamma radiation. He actually absorbs all of the gamma radiation out of Sasquatch. So the Sasquatch is dead. There is no more Sasquatch. Walter's alive, but by the end of it, he's literally sucked all the gamma radiation out of me. He can no longer, he's like, oh my gosh, this is the first time ever I cannot feel Sasquatch anywhere in me. And the Hulk's going to leave, and he's scolding this reporter who's been following him around. And he's like, you need to leave and not come back and quit bothering me or whatever. And she's like, I got questions, though. And he's like, fine, ask one question. And well, at first he wants to know why she's following him, and she comments the fact that when she was 13, that the Hulk showed up in her town and destroyed her house, destroyed all of her neighbors' houses, and just wrecked everything. And she was always told not to look. They were always told not to look in the eyes of the Hulk because that might attract him to you, to keep from me, to stay safe. And she said that she goes, I met eyes with you, and I just want to know one thing: how do I become you? Basically, is what she asked. And he just like go home. He turns around and stomps off, kind of a thing. But I really like it. I like the big bold pencils of John Bennett on the book. It's just very I don't know. It's when I first started reading, I'm like, okay, maybe this is a little dumb ape looking, but I don't know. It's really going on me. This is big kind of grand, giant oversized muscles that there's the Hulk, and the big eyes, the big mouth, the giant teeth. I don't know. For this kind of a book, I like that visceral kind of look and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, this is there's some big punch 'em up monster kind of things in it, but there's also some great kind of make you think moments in it that are really intriguing and whatnot. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm really happy to be on the book, just because, like I said, it kind of surprises me how much I'm enjoying it.
I've always liked how there's interpretations of the Hulk, kind of like Thor. Thor always says, well, this is a story that you've heard, but this is in truth how it is, so that every writer could have a feel of it. Because I always liked how Amadeus mentioned it was like driving a car and Hulk was in the trunk. And however far that trunk opened up, that's how much the Hulk was there. And I always liked that idea that there's this other entity. This one, I am glad that it's got this horror feel to it. It's a nice new take onto it, and I guess a little bit more like how it used to be. Right.
And I like I said, I know they dipped back into some of that, early stuff as far as that goes, with the character and stuff. And there's definitely this kind of two personalities. I mean, they're both aware of each other, but he's not totally out of control when he's the Hulk. He's not a monster, but he is at the same time, because his moral compass is pretty brutal. I mean, he has zero qualms with if he decides you're a bad person and he turns into the Hulk, of just squashing you like a grape. I mean, he's not a superhero in that sense, kind of a thing. So it's really intriguing kind of a deal. But yeah, like I said, a really fun comic. And it is. I just looked in the back. It says the next issue comes out in 2 weeks. So, and it's, but I don't feel like I've lost anything. I mean, it's telling a consistent story. It's the same artist, the same style. Nothing seems to have dipped, so far for 5 issues. So,
is that $4.99 cover price, or is that $3.99?
$3.99.
All right.
The first one might have been $4.99. I don't remember, right. But I'm glad I'm picking it up. I'm really enjoying it. Alrighty. Any other Marvel books? No. Okay. Marvel news.
Chelsea Kane.
Yeah. So, big fanfare at San Diego Comic-Con. They're going to put out another Vision book. It was going to take off from Tom King's the Vision book and whatnot. And I've been on the channel a couple times, kind of questioning whether or not, and on other people's channels, questioning whether or not there needs to be another story for that, and kind of curious as to what they would do, because that really felt like it was own little kind of neat, contained sort of a thing. Not to say that I wasn't going to try it. I mean, I was going to try it anyway. Well, 2 days ago, Marvel suddenly announced that the book's been canceled. It's not going to come out. We're not going to see it. And Chelsea Kane almost immediately came on and said, well, I like the first 4 issues we wrote. So there are 4 issues of the 6-issue miniseries have been written. There is 2 full issues at least 2 full issues have been penciled completely. One of them is inked and partially colored, and the second issue I think is partially inked also. So there's a lot of work been done already on the books, and it just seems really strange that they would cancel it if they're that deep into it. I mean, the supposed what's floating out there from, and my understanding is from Marvel is that it wasn't going to match up with plans that they had for, because it was supposed to be a story about the Vision and V, his daughter, and kind of a take on a kind of messed up dad and his woke daughter and their relationship, which to me, that makes me excited to read it. I actually really wanted to read it because I'd be curious to see that, because I like dad and kid type stories that are hung in a superhero world. So I was really curious about it. But it sounds to me like the Chelsea Kane found out that it was canceled basically about the same time we all did. That just seems weird. It just seems weird to me. I know books get canceled all the time before they get made, but to make a big announcement about it at San Diego Comic-Con, it wasn't something they just floated. I mean, there were literally advertisements for it. So I'm baffled.
Well, not going in a direction they want. Isn't that something the editor talks to the writer about? Not that you just cancel something?
Yeah. Well, unless somewhere along the way it suddenly radically changed so much that would be them having to go back and basically rewrite every issue. And it being a 6-issue miniseries, maybe it wasn't worth the investment to do that, because you get paid for the pages that you've done. And if they accepted it and they paid you, and then suddenly they tell you they want you to completely rewrite the script, they'd have to pay you again. Maybe they didn't want to do that. Or,
okay.
I mean, to me, there's all kinds of thoughts. I mean, because clearly Chelsea Kane was chased off of Twitter and social media for a while. Towards the end of her run of Mockingbirds, she became one of the first victims of kind of what's Comicsgate now, and it just seems really curious and really a poor timing to kind of can her on it, because I mean, I know she's freelance and whatnot and whatever, that's the life of a freelance creator, but it also feels like with kind of the political energy that's out there, you wouldn't want to just willy-nilly be dumping a pretty large feminist writer. I don't know. It just seems extra not a good timing to have done that. Kind of a thing to me too. I don't know. It's just really curious, because the more I read, the more comments they make about it, it just makes me really puzzled as to why they would make this decision. I mean, even if it's something that wasn't going to match up with what they were planning on doing with V or the Vision, like I was saying on Twitter, the Vision, I know it's in continuity, but at the same time, it never really felt like it was really in continuity. Do you know what I mean? They could have told this story anyway, and literally every issue dropped in a box somewhere. This is told outside of what's going on in the current Marvel universe, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you already had, 3/4 of the series done. I don't know. Everybody got paid, so I guess that's the upside. Other than they won't get any. They don't get any royalties on it, right? They don't get any, continued pay out of it. It's just the pay they got up front, but I don't know.
Except for the artist can sell those pages, correct?
Yeah, they're theirs.
Yeah. So I wonder if there's a demand in a market for that, for books that are canceled for unknown reasons, and get the artist,
Well, I'm sure there is to some degree if that's an artist you're interested in, or if you want to buy it for just the curiosity of the sake that this is a book that they got canceled, especially if at some point we find out why it was really canceled and it was something scandalous, which I have no idea. I have zero clue. My mind can race all kinds of places, with why it got canceled. Yeah, but it might have some extra value if you were buying it for a dollar value purpose. I don't know. It's strange. It's really strange. I mean, part of me wonders if it's based on the fact that she has another book that's coming out next week, or is it this week? It's a book about girls that once they hit puberty and they start menstruating, they turn into basically monsters and tear people up. So I don't know. Maybe they don't want the association between those two things. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It seems like too often the big two grab somebody who's somewhat controversial, then they're surprised that they're controversial. So.
Right, and I'm not. Like I said, I'm not implying that's why they're not there or whatnot. And I apologize for anybody who's been in the comment section. It just occurred to me I didn't have the comments up. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a curiosity, and it makes you want to read it all the more because now I can't. It's been denied because now it's been denied. Now I really want to read it. I mean, I was interested before, but now I really want to read it. So
yeah.
Any other Marvel news?
Not that I could think of. That was the big thing I thought of.
So I'm just looking through the comments here, and the comic book commenters comment the fact that the Immortal Hulk has a sporadic schedule, so it's twice some months and once other months. Okay. Hey, look. Just want to make sure I wasn't missing anything else. They're talking Immortal Hulk. I liked it. Now I was suspect of the Immortal Hulk when the first issue came out. I was like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not even sure I like the art. I wasn't totally on board to begin with, but it is really growing on me, and I really am really enjoying it now. So, anyway, let's roll on to some DC books then. What do we want to talk DC wise? Anybody? Just me.
Fred, what do you got?
I'm the only person with DC books.
The only book I have from DC is that I actually got around to reading was The Flash issue 53.
Oh, sweet. What's going on in The Flash?
So I think I may have missed an issue somewhere along the way, but now there are different forces besides the Speed Force in like the DC universe.
Right.
And there's the Strength Force, which the Trickster gets. Like somehow he comes into that power. And the Flash and this character called Commander Cold, who is a future version of like the Rogues Gallery turned good for Central City. Like they're a police force based off the rogue technology from the past. And he comes back in time to help the Flash stop like the incursions from these other forces. And you find out more about him and like how he was kind of this Judge Dredd, like heavy-handed justice distributor in the future before he gets selected to be Commander Cold. And they meet a character called the Elongated Maniac, and he just like shoots him to ribbons with like these laser guns, and he's just like, I tried to save everybody that died in this like hostage situation anyways. And they end up capturing the Trickster and bringing him to this prison facility where they run experiments on him. But the Flash and Cold stay there to keep an eye to make sure like the Warden doesn't go out of bounds, because the Warden's this shady figure that Barry Allen's also working with as a like disgraced police scientist. And then at the end of it, it's the Flash ends up with some of the Strength Force, and Commander Cold turns around and has a cold gun pointed at the Trickster and the Flash, and he's like, I have to save history by killing both of you. And that's the big twist at the end of it. But it's weird. Like I need to go back and find what issue I missed that explains everything that's going on right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I know when Cold got introduced, but I don't know when these forces showed up. I think it had something to do with like Snyder's Justice League and his other side story, that 4-issue mini.
Right. So yeah, the No Justice or whatever the heck that tragedy was.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're speaking of forces in this one. In this one, the Flash has to tap into the quiet force. I can't remember if they call it the quiet or it's slow, but basically, he taps into the Speed Force. That's his thing, right? So in this, he is forced to be utterly still, like completely. He has to type into a force that is just there's complete and utter stillness. So there's elements of the Justice League book I really like. I like the characters. I like their characterization, Scott Snyder's characterization of them. I'm a little frustrated with, clearly this ties into the metal stuff, the threshold, the breaking of the force wall, and a bunch of stuff that I don't know the details to. this issue in particular ends with the last laugh Joker, or whatever that Joker is with the metal bar of the ice.
Oh, the man who laughs?
Yes, so he's at the end of this. It's like Lex Luthor, basically the bad guys get beat by the end of this issue. So the end of the first arc, the Legion of Doom gets beat. They have to go and, hide and lick their wounds. And at the end of it, Lex Luthor is like, well, I guess I do need your help. And he's laughing and going, it's about time at the very end of it. And I guess that's the big, reveal. Yeah. Well, I haven't read any of that stuff, so I don't care. It's not like that means a whole lot to me. And like I said, mixed through this, there's lots of references to stuff I'm assuming has to do with the stuff that was in the metal and whatnot. Like I said, I really like the characterization, though. Curious to see there's a connection. Hawk Girl has some connection to the Threshold. Like she has some sort of secret connection to that because of all of her, deaths. Because the Hawkman and Hawk Girl, they die and are reincarnated, sort of a thing. So that she has some connection to that. They reference in this some Vandal Savage stuff about how Vandal started out basically when he was. He first came into himself. He's helping man rise up, control fire, and all this stuff and whatnot. And then he saw this particular, meteorite flying across the sky, and he got a glimpse of something. He got a glimpse of what's inside the Threshold. And once he realized what that was, then he started working against man, because there's something about humankind has the potential to unlock the Threshold, which could basically unravel the universe or rewrite it or whatever. But it seems to spell doom. And even Vandal Savage, even though was a bad guy, potentially was maybe working to save the universe unknowingly. Kind of a thing. Because at the end of this, once they beat the bad guys back, the Threshold's been sunk into this little power source that they've got hidden away on the Watchtower. And Martian Manhunter basically has this concern that maybe this is what's supposed to happen. The Threshold's supposed to open up, and maybe the universe and humankind is really all about cruelty and bad stuff. That we're actually the predators. We're not humanity. We're not the good stuff. And he's really worried that ultimately we may find out that ultimately, in the grand scheme of the universes and the multiverse, that the Justice League, the heroes, are actually the bad guys. So I kind of like that implication of what that is, and what that thought in the back of their head, how they operate for. It looks like they've kind of divided up what's going to go on now. It looks like Hawk Girl, Jon Stewart, and Martian Manhunter are going to fly off to someplace else in the universe to look up a library to get some more information or whatnot, while the rest of the Justice League continues to do the typical Justice League stuff kind of thing. So I don't know how the story splits from here, exactly how that plays out, but I'm still enjoying it. There's just elements that I know that I'm missing some piece of, but I'm not interested enough to go hunt down the metal stuff to read it. So anyway, but they do imply there's all these other forces out there. So I don't know how many forces there are, kind of a thing, and how they all play in the DC universe. I mean, because you got the green, the red,
yeah,
the rot, and now we've got these slow forces and all this other, I don't know, strength force and all this stuff.
From the issue of Flash, Iris is sitting in the library with a list of forces, and from what I noticed, there's the Speed Force, which everybody knows. There's the Still Force, which one of the Flash's villains was able to tap into before, which is just the reverse of his. Right. There's the Strength Force, and then something called the Sage Force. Mm. So I don't know if that's extra seasoning for your food or whatever, but
right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Interesting. There are DC books.
I suffered some Joker gas, but otherwise. Red Hood in the Outlaws annual. I just realized just this time while flipping through that I actually had 2 covers of it.
Nice.
But otherwise, yeah, this was really good. This the penciling of Henry. I don't know what was it. Yeah, I was just. It was very big too. I was looked at it. Very that crisp. That's. coloring that's done by Malio, who usually does the work for Sorrentino, so I was kind of surprised by that. This is just a great story of two buddies trying to help each other out. Arsenal's come back to help out Red Hood after he received his beating, of course, from Batman, and they go back to the space station. Dick Grayson, or not Dick Grayson, Jason Todd reaches out to Starfire, and she kind of just gives him a little pep talk, and he decides, to pull himself together. Arsenal talks him into investigating a drug invasion, or all these bad drugs are being put out. They want to know who's doing it. They go and they find, and it has to be New 52 storyline. I kind of vaguely remember it. Yeah. Susie Q or Susie. They find her in the hospital. She's in really bad. And then they, of course, encounter her sisters, who you see on the cover. It was a fun book. It was a fun battle with them because they're in the elevator and Arsenal smells gun oil beside me, and he goes spilling out of the elevator into a big fight on the roof. Book to get it set up for Arsenal having to go in. He tells go to Tom King's about recovering.
Heroes in Crisis, yeah.
Thank you very much. I did previously set up discussion between Killer Croc, because Killer Croc is Arsenal's AA representative, and we get to see that even though it's video and it's like holograms of each other when they reach out their hands to, like, brother, I feel ya, and the guard yells at him, hands down, hands down. I'm like, it was just nice and silly. I enjoyed it. And then I enjoyed, lastly, the pages where we see Bizarro and Artemis. Yeah, and it just was so nice to see that, they're there. There's a story to be done, and the last page we find out something happens to the Justice League headquarters. It was really nice. I mean, I really like it. If I knew that they were going to do a Bizarro Artemis book, I would jump all over it for that reason. Knowing that Red Hood, I believe, is supposed to kind of go into his own Punisher style book. Yep. I do not feel like I'll be picking that up. I'll listen to everybody, but that's not where I'm ready for this to go. I really enjoyed the Outlaws together.
Yep. Same here. I don't think we're going to see any more of Bizarro and Artemis, to be truthful. I think that was just a way to say, look, they still exist, but, whatever, kind of a thing. Throw it out there so they could do something with it if they really wanted to, but I don't know. I'm suspicious we're not going to see that. I'm not super excited with what's been floated out there as to where he's going to go, where Red Hood's going to go next. I'm going to pick up a few issues just to see, but I'm suspicious that I'm not. I don't know. The last couple issues I haven't really cared for because it just feels like the characterization of a lot of the stuff, other than the Artemis Bizarro part, has felt really weird to me. That whole, on the rooftop scene with Batman, just how over the top Batman was going after him, just seemed ridiculous, especially when, when the book first started, when the Rebirth book first started, he kind of accuses, Red Hood of killing the mayor. And then you find out, no, he really didn't. He shot him with these tranq darts that was actually curing him of a disease. So why would he not give some level of the benefit of the doubt? I mean, I don't remember seeing a corpse of the Penguin somewhere to totally verify that he actually blew the Penguin's head off or something. So I don't know. I did. Yeah.
And I thought I remembered reading somewhere where they've already revealed that he was only wounded. Of course, the bullet goes in, doesn't hit anything vital, which at that range and him being Red Hood, how does that happen? But
right. Well, yeah. I just, like I said, I don't know. So it just feels like a radical change of the book, and without it changing creators, it seems really strange to me. I don't know if it's like editorial went, dude, means you take this someplace else. We need a badass book, so let's turn it into a badass book, which I have been enjoying it because it has some moments like that, but it's all that other stuff. It's the stuff dealing with Bizarro and all that kind of stuff that I was enjoying of it. So I don't know, like I said, I'm going to give it a couple issues. I'm not just going to write it off immediately, but just the redesign alone and the rationale for the redesign already has a bad taste in my mouth. So I'm just kind of pretty apprehensive about it. So, yeah. Look at the comments, and Joshua Hayes says that the Manual Laughs mini was announced in December, for December. So there's a mini series for that, and that he's having MWL Burnout, the metal stuff. Same here. And I didn't even read it. That's the thing is it. I don't know what it is. I like Scott Snyder's characterization of characters, but sometimes it feels like he gets a hold of an idea, and he doesn't know how to let go of it. It's like, how long can we drag out the Cordalis stuff? I mean, it's like it's behind everything. So now it just feels like everything Scott Snyder touches, and anybody that's under his influence, all that stuff's going to have a mental thing in it. It almost feels like it's like, oh my God, I mean, you had your thing, now let it go. It's almost like the Jeff Johns with the Blackest Night stuff and all the different lanterns. Then just nobody could let go of all the lanterns, kind of a thing. So I don't know. I have a few books to talk about. First, we'll talk about Thank God It's Over. Deathstroke versus Batman, the end game. This was all shenanigans and not fun shenanigans. It was just you got suckered as a reader. If you picked this up, thought you were going to get some heavy, oh my gosh, who is Damian? Whose kid is he? Ultimately, by the end of it, we find out whose kid he really is. And Batman throws the paternity test into the fire, going, I don't care. He's my kid. It doesn't matter. Well, he is his kid in reality, but complete waste for me anyway. Waste of money and waste of time to have read it. I was very irritated with it. But by issue 2, I already know it had been suckered. I was just dumb to hang on, thinking at some point it was going to give me something I didn't know, but did not care.
That book was on my pull list, and I don't remember taking it off. I think my comic book retailer did it for me, because I don't have it in any stack for like the last 3 months.
Well, bless your comic pusher then for knowing when to cut you off. Because like I said, it was. I'm clearly some people get more mileage out of it than me, but I didn't think it really. It didn't hold any real value. I mean, at the very end, there's an almost twist as to who they clearly decide the evidence has been planted. This isn't real. They imply for a while that it was Red Robin that was all bitter, and he's the one that planned it. No, it wasn't him. Someone slipped it to him on the dark web or something like that. That's where he got it from. And so then it's implied that it's Slade's ex-wife, because Slade's ex-wife, of course, is always pissed at him because he's sleeping around. Because that's who Batman tells him it is, and then you find out that it's somebody else, which was the logical person for it to be anyway. And it was, whatever. I don't know.
Well, and I really figured that for it to make sense, they were going to end up having Slade be Bruce's son, so that the DNA structure would carry through. So,
see, now that would have been impressive. Yeah. That would have been a comic changing reveal. There was nothing in this that changes anything about anything. So
when you guys were talking about Red Hood and like DC needing that like badass book now to have like the cool character going around, I'm like, I remember when that was Deathstroke before he started his own Justice League team and everything started sliding downhill.
Exactly.
Exactly. When people want to talk about like the Deathstroke books, I remember like the Chicago issue, which was like months ago when I was back on here. When he was doing his anti-hero like cool thing, and then like he had that revelation where he should be a good guy because he's like dying or whatever. And then like since then, like they lost that character Punisher-esque thing that he needed.
Right. So he's an assassin without any kind of an edge.
Yeah.
Right. He doesn't. Yeah.
Why aren't they pushing him back into that role and let Red Hood continue on in that character development he had?
Yeah, I don't know. And it's another. Why did they decide to take him that direction? It's another of those things where it's not like it almost felt like that direction change would be something that would happen when a new creator comes on the book and they decide they're going to go someplace different with him. Well, that really wasn't. It's the same writer. I mean, Priest has been writing it this entire time to suddenly take it off in what seems to me to be. I mean, I haven't been reading it, so I don't know. But it just seems like an odd direction to take the character, and that's why I didn't usually it's a character, something new is going on with him. I'll at least pick it up and try a few issues. But that was going in a direction I knew I didn't want anything to do with, because Slade doesn't strike me as a team player. So I don't know. The whole thing seems strange. So, yeah. And Joshua was saying is saying that Priest was never going to be given the authority to retcon characters concepts set up by Grant Morrison. Just wasn't ever going to happen, which means this was a miniseries. A miniseries was defeated before it starting, 100%. And I should have known that. I mean, that was my gut feeling, was there's no way they're going to mess with this. But I got suckered. So, yeah. Batman 54, Shadows of the Past. So I'm believing this is like a one-shot drawn by Matt Wagner, who is famous for like Mage, right? That's the real big thing. That's a Matt Wagner thing, right? Or Grendel. Or both. I can't remember now. That's horrible.
I want to say the name strikes me more with Grendel.
Right. Okay. So I don't know. I mean, I kind of like these, Tom King kind of what feel kind of like one shots that kind of set up some bit or piece of personality or something like that. I did not really feel this issue though. And I don't know if it's because of the art. And maybe I like, if Tom King's with the right artist, I like his stuff more than if it has the wrong artist. But I don't know. This felt kind of flat to me. I mean, I get the whole, it's Dick basically at the end of it saying, hey, look, you can talk to me. If you're not okay, it's okay to not be okay. I like the very message at the very, very end of it, because it's still, because, clearly they need to show Batman going through some level of grief over the whole, loss of the wedding thing. But I don't know. I wasn't really feeling this issue. What did you think of it?
Oh, I haven't read it.
Okay.
I just took Tom King's Batman off my pull list like last time I went to my shop.
Okay.
But just looking through it, like the art, I don't know if it's that off-putting for me, but I notice it's more of Tom King's usual, let me pull these older joke characters out of the woodwork. I saw Crazy Quilt. I saw Condiment King. Like, they're both in there. Let me, shoehorn them in. Maybe I can get them to be the next Kite Man. Like, see if I can get that going.
Well, except for in this issue, if you read it, they are actually jokes. I mean, Dick Grayson as Nightwing is joking about them. I mean, he is actually actively, really, truly making fun of them. So they're not trying to make these characters cool in this case, whereas Kite Man, they tried to give him some level of, he was a player in that, what was going on, the jokes and riddles. In this, these guys are not players at all. I mean, Batman gets squirted in the face with a giant, glob of ketchup, and Dick is like, "Come on, you think this isn't funny?"
That's the page on right now.
Right. So it is a joke. I mean, it is. This issue's supposed to have Dick Grayson kind of being this lighthearted, go-lucky kind of a, of a character that hangs with Bruce and trying to, get Bruce to open up.
Like, you calling it a one-shot is like, those are the issues I've liked from King's run. Like the ones where he takes a step back from his story and goes, let me develop this relationship or show you this angle, or just like a slower moment. But then when it's like comes to his main stories and like the different plot points like that, it's where it really throws me, because like he's good at developing the characters, but then trying to tie them into a longer narrative seems to lose him, or at least lose me in his writing.
I can see that because I hear a lot of people talk about it. I'm actually, the deeper I get into King's run, the more I'm actually liking the run. And like I said, I think this would have been a better issue under someone else's art. Yes, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's also the fact is the last two issues where it's all him in a jury, him in a jury basically putting Batman on trial as opposed to Mr. Freeze. I really, really like those issues. Those issues, the art in it and everything was super, super strong. So maybe that's why this came across as just weaker in general, because I really, really like that stuff. But I'm reading Joshua Hayes' comments because he's really the Batman reader of YouTube as far as I'm concerned. So I'm always curious as to what he has to say about the books and whatnot. And he's saying that this issue's flashback reminded him of Robin's reckoning from the Batman animated series, and so in that way, it gave him some good feels, and I can get that. And I didn't hate the issue. It kind of threw me out of the book in comparison to what the last stuff has been and whatnot. I mean, I appreciate the idea of how they're using Dick in the issue, but I don't know.
So now, when you say that you like King's Run, the longer it goes on, is that called Stockholm Syndrome?
It might be. It might be. I've been abused enough by it now that I'm starting to buy in. That's a very good point. No,
he's just outspoken to everybody else after that 50th issue bomb. He's just, at this point, anything's better than that.
Yeah, possibly. So I didn't hate that issue either, though. So I mean, there's problems with it, but I like the wedding part of it. It's the splash pages of that wrecked it for me. But yeah, I don't know. I almost guarantee you, though, Mike, that if I went back and read that first arc, the whole riding the blimp down and stuff, I would still hate that.
Yeah,
that bugged me to no end, and it still haunts me. That's to this day. So, yeah. Anyway, let's see what else I got. So I read the second issue of the 12th issue miniseries here of Super Sons. It's fun. We get kind of a background as to who these other kids are that are dressed up like the Legion of Doom, basically, with names that are somewhat close to the original Legion of Doom. They're all kids, aliens from a planet that on their downtime they get newscast feeds of Earth, and for whatever reason, these demented little kids related to the villains. And so to ultimately do what they want to do, they figured out that if they come to Earth and they snatch up Superboy, they can have Superboy walk into the Fortress of Solitude and steal the Cosmic Cube, and then they can use the Cosmic Cube to basically obliterate their home planet, obliterate Earth, and be the ultimate villains. Is kind of what they're doing. And of course, silliness ensues with the kids trying to keep that from happening. Not as fun as the Super Sons ongoing was, but still amusing. Issue 2. So. And finally, Green Arrow issue number 44. This is the second issue that I've gotten on the book since the Benson sisters picked it up, started writing it. I enjoy this issue much more than the first one. It didn't have awkward panel moments or weird things that I felt like should have been left in the gutters and not actually on a panel and whatnot. They're up against this character called Citizen. The Citizen is what he's called, and he basically is using social media to wreak havoc on the 1%ers in Seattle, passing judgment on them. He puts them on camera, and then he lets social media vote. There's like an app you can download, and you can say, yay, kill the person, or no, save the person. And if you vote kill the person, he like puts them in some sort of death trap, and they actually killed. I mean, last issue, this slumlord who runs all these cheap buildings where fires happen and people get killed, he gets beheaded. I mean, he actually gets on social media, gets his head chopped off with a guillotine. And so he's got these other 3 people that are on the list. Oliver Queen is one of the people on the list. In this issue, we find out that at some point in Oliver's past, when he was a wild partying boy, he got really drunk. They crashed and they killed somebody. His dad paid off the cops, supposedly, and lied to Oliver because Oliver was so drunk he didn't remember what happened. He just hit a tree, and they actually killed somebody. So he's trying to deal with the fact that, oh my God, did I actually kill somebody? Meanwhile, Citizen Kane is going to draw and quarter this woman who has been dosing her racehorses with illegal drugs, and her horses have been beating everybody else at the track and all that kind of stuff. He saves her. We get some great scenes of him riding on a horse shooting arrows and stuff, which is fun. And at the end of the issue, he's like, Citizen can still be after me. He could be after me any moment. He hears a noise and he thinks, oh, they're after me now. He pulls out a steak knife out of because he's half dressed as Green Arrow. He pulls a steak knife out of the kitchen. He's gonna go meet whoever it is, and he opens the door and looks out the window, and it's Superman floating there, and he's like, Ollie, we need to have a conversation. So I don't know where that goes, if that's because he supposedly killed somebody or exactly what's going on. But I actually enjoyed this issue quite a bit more. So now I'm excited. He's playing the social justice warrior in this. They, to the hilt. I enjoyed that about Green Arrow. He's always been that for me before the term was even coined. So yeah, it was enjoyable.
That would be a very interesting idea. That should you pay now, then, as that superhero, should he have to go to jail if he drove drunk and killed somebody?
Right. That's what he's wondering. And yeah. I mean, there's the other side of it. I mean, that happened then. You just saved a woman. Now, does that balance the scales? If you didn't know you did it, does that balance the scales too? I mean, it's the crime. The major crime is his dad committed by, if this actually happened, that his dad paid off the cops and whatnot. But still involuntary manslaughter, right? Or I guess not involuntary, still manslaughter or something. So yeah, I don't know that. Yeah. I'm assuming at some point they're going to prove that he didn't do it.
Right. Yeah.
That's not real, but
because Ollie would lock himself up, I believe, saying, I did it. I can't live with this. So.
Right. Oh, and he's definitely, that's a thought, because I mean, there's a car chasing here, because basically lots of people are after him now when this, everybody's trying to be the vigilante along with the citizen. And he's talking to his lawyer, and his lawyer is Kate Spencer, who in the past has been the female version of the Manhunter. So I don't know if they're going to be, but as he's driving along, he's like, look, my entire life's been an open book. I mean, I'm not hiding anything. I mean, other than obviously he's a superhero. He's like, I'm not hiding anything because, I'm this playboy. I've lived all of my sins in the open. It's not like there's any secret, because part of what the citizen does is he reveals some secret that makes you guilty. And he's like, there can't be anything, because like I said, I've been a party boy my entire life. I mean, even when he really was a party boy, not the fake party boy he is now, it's like there is nothing, other than, he's like, the closet superhero kind of thing. And then in that conversation, they almost imply that Kate either is or has been a closet superhero herself. So I'm kind of hoping that happens, because I really like that character. But yeah, and then to suddenly have this reveal of him actually maybe having done something he had. I mean, because he knows that accident happened. And he's like, I was just told by my dad we hit a tree, and that was it. And here's this, woman we find out has been, killed in a hit and run accident, kind of thing. So, yeah. I'll be curious to see how it plays out. Like I said, though, I would suspect that ultimately he didn't really do it, but I don't know. It'll be interesting. Alrighty. Any other DC books? No?
Nope.
DC news?
Just the one big thing that's been all over Twitter. I think I've seen it all over the internet. Big question was, when are you getting the Batman backdrop back? Getting Batman back.
Oh, yeah, and here it is, Batman Day, and I don't have my Batman drop. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not very far away, so.
Oh, it's like you dropped the flag, Travis.
Yeah, I know, isn't it? It's laying on the ground. The cats sleep on it. It's just dirty. Oh my gosh.
All right.
I don't know if that's ever coming back, man. I'm retiring that thing. I know everybody. Costo's giving me a hard time about it too. So I think I'm retiring the bat drape for a while anyway. I don't know if it'll be this.
Or what kids are sleeping on. Just flip them off, and then just flip her, take whatever she said.
Well, so the Batman sheet was Ethan's sheet, and technically, actually, this is Ethan's sheet too. So, see, the poor kid sleeping on a bare mattress.
I was gonna say he's just on.
So DC knows the news that I'm aware of. There's going to be a Martian Manhunter maxi series. It looks like DC is going to start doing more, just kind of like 12-issue stories. I'm kind of excited for that, just because there's a beginning, middle, and end. It's not like this is a ongoing and suddenly it gets canceled. They have to try and figure out how to give us an end. There's an end in place for whatever kind of story they're going to do. I've been enjoying the Raven one. That's a 12 issue kind of a series. I'm excited about the Martian Manhunter one because it is C. Orlando's writing it, and Riley Rosmo is doing the art.
Yeah.
On a Martian Manhunter, so I'm just curious to see what it's going to be. I mean, I've seen some covers for it that look pretty cool, so I'm excited for that. I'll be picking that up. And the other one that they're going to do, they're also doing a Freedom Fighters 12 issue miniseries. Venditti is writing it, and I think Eddie Burrows is doing the art on it. I'll be picking that up. I am a huge Freedom Fighters fan. I love them. They're like Earth X, I think originally is the Earth they're from. So you got Uncle Sam, Black Condor, Doll Man, Phantom Lady, the Ray, the Human Bomb. That's the tip. I don't know who's going to be in this group, but that's what's always been in the Freedom Fighters in the past. They're kind of a World War II era characters. They did lots of Nazi punching and that sort of thing. So is what they're famous originally for.
CW did like an animated version of that recently, and I wondered if that's why they're looking at doing that again. If they got a good vibe from people that enjoyed it or what.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm excited for it to see it back and whatnot, because anytime it comes out, I end up picking up. The last like 2 or 3 actual real kind of either miniseries or runs have all had Justin Pomelanti and Jimmy Pomelanti, and Justin Gray doing the writing on it. So it's always had the same kind of a voice. So I'm curious to see what somebody else might do. Not that I haven't enjoyed those, because I've enjoyed those runs of it, but I'm curious to see what somebody else might do with the voice of it and whatnot too. So the Human Bomb, commenter saying the Human Bomb for sure is going to be in it. So yeah.
What else has the artist really been known for?
Eddie Burrows. Eddie Burrows was doing the art for the beginning of the Rebirth Detective book. He did the art on it to start out with. He's a really great to me, in my mind, he's like a classic 4-color superhero type artist. I mean, that's just he just does a very good job of just your classic superhero kind of a Nightwing. Yeah, he did Nightwing too for a while. He's just kind of a classic superhero artist. So any superhero book he's on, that's an attraction for me, not a detraction. I'm not saying he's the same as Jason Fabok, but it's the same kind of thing. Jason Fabok to me comes across as just kind of a classic superhero artist, and Eddie Burrows is kind of the same way. To me, they just scream superhero comics, kind of a thing. He has that style down to a T, I think. So, yeah.
Sure.
Can't think of any other.
And then Henry, renegotiation or negotiation for the next Superman movie.
So is he out or is he back in again?
I think he is. I think it's in discussion. I think it's just people keep putting things out because I think Cavill wants the movie and DCU wants to use him in a different way, and I think he just wants to, kind of solidify this next picture.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's yeah. I think he's a great Superman. He's got the look. I mean, I think he has the personality to be the classic Superman. It's not the actor. On all of these, I mean, the people who they were like, "Oh my gosh, the DC movies are a disaster." I don't think it's ever the actor. The actor's not the problem with any of these things. It's the stories that they've been given, and the writing that they've been given, and the director that they've been given. That's what's made most of those movies maybe not what everybody thinks a superhero movie should be. I don't think it's the actor at all. I hope they keep him around, to be quite honest. I think he's, like I said, I think he has the kind of the classic look for Superman. Or if it's not going to be him, they find somebody else who's completely unknown, so we don't have to go through the debate on whether or not Ben Affleck works as Batman. We don't have to have that discussion again about whatever Superman is. So yeah, I don't know. we'll see how that plays out. I don't know. Because last I heard he was out, but I know lots of people were like making petitions or whatever to say, "Oh no, bring him back," and just give him somebody else. So
yeah, I think it's stations. I don't think there's a solid number.
Yeah, Joshua Hayes is saying that he's betting it's a contractual dispute. Bring back the curl. Yes.
From what I've heard, it sounds like a lot of trying to just negotiate out in the open.
Sure.
I know the first big bomb was like he's out entirely, and everybody was saying like he cut like ties altogether. But then like the next day, it was like he hasn't really. They're just trying to figure out like what he's going to do, because I don't think he wants to be the cameo in Shazam that they want him to be.
I guess that makes sense too, if that's the case. Yeah, and then of course that is the way you negotiate at times, right? If you're not getting exactly what you want, you leave it to the fans to if you think you're that popular, you leave it to the fans to the fan base to lose their minds and make people nervous enough that maybe we should be keeping him around, kind of a thing. So mustache or no mustache. But, I say just let him grow the full beard and be the bearded Superman, because his bearded Superman rocks. So
if we don't get bearded Superman, at least give us mullet Superman and let us enjoy that for a time.
Exactly. No, that's okay.
I'm working my way through that trade right now. I got Reign of the Supermen, so I got to try to get through that.
Nice. Good stuff. Alrighty. I don't. Any other DC news? I don't think so. I want to roll on to some independent books. What do we want to talk about independent wise? I got all kinds of stuff, so that I could talk about. What do you got? Anything? Or is it just me?
I mean, I have stuff.
I got Blackwood. I just want to say this was a beautiful wrap up. I like the idea of a 4-issue storyline. There was lots that these characters that made me curious, and it kept me wanting to know more. So, yeah, they could do another arc, or the just fine with young professors in love, young headmasters in love. It was a good story. It wasn't overly wow. It wasn't overly crazy. It was just a good, I guess, is the best way for me to sell it.
Yeah, it was really enjoyable. It didn't get too deep. It didn't try to take itself too seriously, but it wasn't corny either, kind of a thing. So it just kind of hit the right beat of amount of, monster horror kind of a thing without, like I said, without being, darkly gross, like, lots of horror books, which I enjoy those too. Don't get me wrong. I have a lot of them in my pull. It wasn't that kind of scary kind of thing, but it had, classic horror elements in it and whatnot. I enjoyed, the art between the breakdowns of Andy Fish and Veronica Fish's, more of a cartoon style, kind of a sequential art. I enjoyed those elements of it. Great, kind of really bold colors all the way through it, oranges and purples and red. I mean, all the kind of Halloween colors that just kind of lends itself to that kind of a classic, Halloween kind of a book kind of a thing. So yeah, and like me and Mike have talked about, they're Evan's already working on a sequel, another story of some sort. I'll be picking it up to see what it's like, just because this was a lot of fun, and being as short as it wasn't like it was a huge investment in any way in it, but it was a lot of fun. But I liked it.
This would be one I would maybe, if they could just do 2 issues, that are twice as thick or whatever. So it's like the 4. I think I'd rather prefer it that way, either 2 books or just go straight to trade. I know that's the next step a lot of people have been going to, that this series was okay, now we're just going to pump trades. I would pick it up that way.
Well, sure. I probably would too. A small little trade like that too, because I know what I'm getting. It's not something I would just jump into a trade not knowing what it was, though.
Yep.
Just me personally as a consumer. I like monthly comics, but it wasn't something that I needed to read serialized. It wasn't so complicated or drawn out that it's something that I felt like I needed to read it. That I wanted to read it over the long term for the pace of really being able to absorb the story. Like this, for instance, I will love it in once a month installments over a very long period of time, because it gives me lots of times to ponder all the greater things that are going on in it, because it's a simpler kind of a classic kind of a story. So yeah, I mean, I would definitely think it would work as well or as good in one lump to be consumed, even though I am a monthly consumer. I like serialized books. There's nothing about that book that felt serialized. It didn't feel like one issue set up oh my gosh, what's the next issue? It just felt like a story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. For sure. And I'll just talk about this. Good old Paper Girls. I continue to absolutely adore this book. Bits and pieces of, so this is issue 24. Things that were introduced issue 1, clear through, stuff starting to kind of come together. I don't know, it was like issue 10 or something like that. We were all freaking out because they are landed in some place that seemed like prehistoric times, but set in prehistoric times, but the cavemen that were walking around had like little Apple products and crap on them, and you're like, what the hell's going on? The baby that was in that issue 10 we find out is a full adult in this. Her mom, the mom of the baby, is now an old woman in the way future. So we're finding out some crazy stuff about that. And this character Mac, they were trying to get her to this future hospital so they could fix her, because they think that she's dying of leukemia. They actually, when they're hopping through time, they go far enough into the future to find out that she supposedly died of leukemia, or that's what people tell. It's like, oh, yeah, that girl that used to, she died of leukemia. And they're like, oh my gosh, so this girl already knows, at 13, she knows what she's going to die of in the future. So when they're in this super future, like, I don't know, it's 2755 or something like that, they decide, well, they can cure leukemia. So they're going to, they take her to the hospital to cure of leukemia, and they find out that she doesn't have leukemia. She has a very, very, very rare cancer that only time travelers get. So it's uncurable. So all hell's breaking loose, because of course that these aren't just ghetto kids, because the doctor that they're basically forcing to cure her just thinks that these kids are like low life bums. It's like, oh, you're not low life bums, you're actually the enemy. You're invading us. So it's just all hell's breaking loose as far as that kind of stuff goes. So I don't know. I'm just super, super enjoying it. The book just continues to get smarter and smarter. Largely Brian K. Vaughan, if he's writing a book, I feel like I would be stupid not to be picking it up. So just good stuff. But now I'm afraid there's going to be some crazy announcement that Paper Girls is going to go on an insane hiatus. So I think one more issue, and then this isn't back until December or something. But so I'm afraid it's going to pull a saga on me. But yeah. Let's see. What else do you want to talk about? Here, let's talk about this book. This book takes forever to come out. Coming to Me, issue number 3 from Black Mask. I really like the first 2 issues. The book has just gotten creepier about this whole kind of body swap sort of thing. Basically, this whole thing is billed as being the ultimate way to be intimate with someone else is to actually mind meld, mind swap. You actually have this connection between, and you actually embody. You actually your thoughts and personality are shifted into another body, and vice versa. But you don't completely lose your consciousness out of your body. So you kind of, it's the way to kind of, the ultimate experience, right? Of course, this goes completely bad. The guy who created the system does a body swap of sorts with this woman who we find out is dying of cancer. Well, she pushes her personality into his body, and then her body dies. It succumbs to cancer. So she is riding around in his body. She is taking control of his body. In this issue, she is very sick. She is fighting against his personality to control his body, and she is shopping for another body. So she's in this like high class bar. He is the stereotypical scientist. You know, he's pudgy. He's a Pillsbury boy. You know, kind of a guy, and she doesn't want to be stuck in his kind of gross fat body. So she's in this like high class bar trying to pick up on fit women that she can like drag back to the lab and body swap with them so she can have a nice healthy body again. It's not going well because she's trying to like use lines like, talking to people and doing all these horrible cheesy pickup lines to try and pick up women to go back with him to the lab. It's not working well. He ends up finding a call girl to take back to the lab, which he promises her a month's worth of wages for an hour's worth of time to get her to come back to the lab. And this whole time that he's working on getting this prostitute back to the lab, she is also fighting with, because it's not he, it's really she. She is fighting with his personality to try and who's going to have the body and whatnot. I'm not explaining it very well, but it's really interesting. It's really intriguing, the book. The unfortunate thing is I don't know, it's probably 3 months between issue 2 and issue 3. It's the problem I have with the Black Mass books. I like some of their stories, but they are not, the creators or whoever is not dedicated to even remotely coming close to hitting some sort of a deadline as far as putting out a monthly book or even announcing, okay, this book's going to come out every 2 months even. It's just, I get it whenever it shows up kind of a deal, which is fine up to a point, but it also, I have to go back and read it a bunch of times to get caught up, or I'm missing stuff because I don't remember what it is. So, kind of a thing. So I don't know. Like I said, I like it, but it's that big lag is bad. The comic book commentator is commenting on the fact that he's dropped it after issue 3. Yeah, absolutely loved issue number 1. Issue number 2 and 3 were those stories bored. Okay. Anyway, I'm liking it. I just don't. It's taken a long time for it to get out and whatnot. So yeah, I don't know. Talk amongst yourselves while I eliminate the yahoos that suddenly showed up in my comments.
While you're doing that, I'll go ahead and talk about. I picked up Jinx World, and I just wanted to briefly talk about Scarlet real quick. Of course, it's the Alex Maleev art, as you can see in here, the photorealistic or copying of that. An interesting idea about talking about a young woman's life as she finds a wonderful boy. They fall in love. They get, of course, hassled by the fuzz. And so it was enjoyable to see that. This builds into some officer corruption. They fight the law and they run, and ends up that, of course, the cop tries to pin some stuff on him, ends up killing her boyfriend, and it was just nice. I mean, it was an interesting style. It's Brian Michael Bendis. I do like a lot of his writing. I love Maleev art, and this story, I know it was originally, there was a run of it somewhere else. If it was Image or somewhere, I'm not sure. But of course, now this is under the DC Jinx World, Brian Michael Bendis banner. So I don't think I'll pick it up in individual issues. I'll probably grab it in trade.
See, that sounds like that was the original work, though. That's the stuff that was under, it was what you're talking about there. I think that's the stuff that was released under Icon.
All right. And that makes sense then.
Yeah, not the new stuff that's coming out, but
yeah, because there's also, it shows Powers and Murder Inc. And I know Powers, I read that one before, so
right.
That makes sense that this is the previous run. So if everything is the same, if everything is running the way it is, like I said, it was good, but it's not hooked me enough to make me go issue to issue.
Right. See, I really enjoyed Scarlet. The first couple issues were really good. Like, oh, this is going to be solid. It's all the great elements about it and whatnot. And then you got, I don't know, it suddenly slowed down. They weren't, once again, you didn't know when the book was coming out. And then it felt like they didn't know what to do with the story. It was like all of a sudden they're like, well, now what do we do with this? We've started this kind of quasi riot of sorts, within the world of Portland. Now what? Kind of a thing. And then it was just like, it was, 4 months, 6 months between issues. And it was like, okay, I'm done. And it was enough that I don't have an interest in coming back to it. And I guess I guess the comments I was talking about earlier from the commentator was how to do with Black Hammer, because they're talking Black Hammer in the comments. And I am getting Black Hammer. I'm really enjoying all of the Black Hammer parts. I don't think Black Hammer came out this last week unless my shop didn't send me that issue, which is possible. I haven't looked to see though. I'll have to check that out if I just am missing it or not. Fred, you got any books you want to talk about?
So, I only have like a couple of them, but one of them was Border Town from the Vertigo line.
Yeah. Oh, what cover did you get?
I got the cool one with the luchador-looking guy on it.
Yeah, nice.
Which was kind of disappointing when he didn't show up in the comic at all.
Right.
But, I think it's an interesting concept. I definitely like the idea of there being like, it's a border town. It's between two countries, but also that concept of like the other world and like bringing in some of like the Central American mythologies and stuff. But it was just some of the dialogues and the concepts in it, and like the way it was explained was kind of straight to the point. That was kind of throwing me off.
Yeah.
And
that's kind of where I was. There are parts of it I really enjoyed. I thought were interesting. I'm curious about the cast of characters. In some ways, they're very stereotypical. Yeah. But what are we going to do with those now? Hopefully we do something with those stereotypes to some sense or another. So I was okay at that. And then there were just random things that were kind of thrown out. And I'm like, why? Her mom flipping the radio station and the I don't know, the, evil stuff spewing out and going into him. What's up with that? Kind of a thing. I guess I'm supposed to be curious enough about that to want to read the next issue. I did love the part where the things that are coming, the Cooperare or whatever that are running around, they change into whatever form you're most fear of. And so I thought that was kind of funny, kind of going through town, how each person sees them as something else. What's the scary thing? And it's like, some of it is like, neighborhood, neighborhood vandals, and one of them is Bane. Somebody's afraid of Bane, so it takes on it. The monster takes on the form of some juiced up Bane. I thought some of that was just kind of some funny stuff in there. But yeah, there are elements. Urban teenager. One of the women, this lady's afraid of urban teenagers. This person's afraid of Bane. But he takes on like the potentially illegals that are living in the border town. Of course, it's the ICE agent. Here it's this woman. It's the marchers with the tiki torches and stuff. Or just a big giant Mexican with a sombrero. Like I said, so there are elements that I really liked. The things about the art I really like, the things I don't. The faces kind of bug me to some degree, but all the rest of the art reminds me an awful lot of Frank Quietly. It has the same kind of this small little lines and work and whatnot that so I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna pick it up for a while because of course I get it at a steep discount. So I can afford to mess around with it for a little bit, but we'll see where it really goes. I don't know. I mean, it's sold out and it's going back for a second printing already. I'm not sure exactly what the hysteria is over it, unless it just didn't get printed a very big. I know Vertigo books don't run a very big print run anyway, so I don't know if that's what it is. I'll be curious to see if people are still excited about it after issue 2 or 3. So
I liked it. I thought it was a solid concept. My thing was like some of the dialogue, like given that it's mostly teenagers, I'm like not. You can tell it's not written by a teenager, so the dialogue seems kind of weird and chunky and not like. I mean, granted, it's not the way we talk. Like, this is definitely very far away from where I live. So that could just be a colloquial thing. Yeah. But, it definitely seems like more mature statements coming out of, the mouths of teenagers in some points.
Well, and then maybe that's I mean, I know you're nowhere close to my age, Fred, but maybe that's a generational thing, even a gap between you and current teenagers. I think a lot of current teenagers have much bigger adult conversations around some of this stuff than what I'm pushing 50, clearly than what I did, when I was their age. Because my kids who are 17 and 20, as much as they joke around and talk silly and whatnot, they also have conversations that are closer to this too. So I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I get what you're saying, but I don't know if that's not 100% not accurate for.
And then again, like I said, it could just be a distance thing, like, because this isn't like the concerns they address in this book aren't generally concerns that happen in the Northeast. Like,
right. Yeah. But yeah.
So like,
in some ways, a different world. Yes.
Yeah. So, but and then like just kind of some of the political commentary seemed a bit over the top for me.
Yeah.
But other than that, like the actual concept of, hey, there are demons running around in this one town because of where it's located, and it's causing problems for the inhabitants based upon preconceived notions that they have about each other. Like, and how does that work itself out? Seems interesting.
Right. And yes, I totally agree with you. Some of the political elements are incredibly heavy-handed. It's a border town, so you can pretty much guess it's going to the story's going to be one direction or the other. It's either, ooh, those awful people are crossing the border and they should all be put down, or it's going to be, man, we should have sympathy for everybody who's crossing the border. And that's kind of where this book lands. Now, my question is, are they going to do something with that? If they do something with it, I'm cool with the first issue just kind of throwing all those things out there, because all those things are out there. If you live in the United States, all of those things are out there. Yeah. Now, my question is, to write a smart book, what are you going to do with those elements? Are you going to do something with them? Or are they just, the first issue just kind of blow that stuff off, and now it's all going to be about this thing in the middle there? So, yeah.
With the discussion talk, that whether if it's generation, I understand that we refer to Fred as Fred the Younger. Is there a Fred the even younger maybe that we could talk to?
He's not home right now.
Okay. Maybe Fred the Youngest is, if there's a whole series of you, we could talk with that.
There you go. Get the
time
whole
traveling Fred.
Yeah.
I based around this topic, I went back a couple weeks ago. I was cleaning my room and I found for my high school, we had to put together like this portfolio of like all the projects we had done throughout high school, and then to graduate, hey, we learned something or whatever. My freshman year in high school, I had to write a paper, and I chose to write about illegal immigration. And seeing what young Fred wrote as opposed to what I think now is definitely a shift.
Oh yeah, I bet.
So I'll go drag him up, and you guys can talk to him for a little bit. So we can
all right.
Yeah, I bet. Oh, I wouldn't want to talk to young Travis, that's for sure. Oh, anyway, I guess I'm curious to see where the book goes, from here, how they're going to use those elements and whatnot. And the border town thing is curious. The mythical border town kind of a part of it. So for sure. Staying with Vertigo for a few moments anyway. The first issue of this, basically the first issue starting out of the new Sandman stuff. A couple weeks ago, the kind of primer book came out that kind of gave you a couple pages of what each of the different types of books are going to be like. So this is the first one that's actually going forward. This is The Dreaming. Absolutely loved it. If for no other reason than Blisk Everly art all the way through it is just amazing. I love her work, and she's clearly got enough of a run out in front of it that she inks all of her own stuff. So to me, it's brilliant for that. Simon Spurrier, because he's going by Simon now, not Cy. Simon Spurrier, written, it feels like part of the Dreaming World. I mean, it feels like the Sandman universe. It looks like the Sandman universe. I mean, it looks like it was pulled out of the mid to late 80s. It just has all the hallmarks of what in my brain feel as classic Vertigo books of the era. so I'm digging it because I love the Sandman universe. I thought it was great. So I'm excited to jump into this book and whatever it has going. The premise of this book, it's in the land of the dreams. Dream has gone rogue again. He has just gone on vacation and left them to their own affairs. The dreaming world is cracking. Literally, the sky and the earth is breaking open. Random stuff is squeezing out and leaking out onto everything. And they're trying to figure out how to do that. The person that's left in charge is Lucian, who is the librarian. He's in charge of keeping a track of the library of everybody's dreams, of all the dreams there are. The dreams are kind of like fading away or disappearing. So that's a concern. They can't get a hold of the boss. They can't find the boss. He has, in this first issue, Lucian has to fake. He puts on the Sandman mask, the big gas mask looking kind of thing, and fakes that he is Morpheus to chase away a demon that has broken through into their realm. Because Dora, this wonderful living entity who lives in the dream, even though she's not a dream herself, she's a living entity of some sort, that Dream rescued at some point. She wanders around. She can actually step through realms, and she accidentally lets in, well, it's her sex toy, the demon. She meets up with him outside of the Dream of Realms and just gets it on with him when she gets bored. And in the process of doing that, she kind of lets him through. And he's going to threaten to take over the place. And of course, the librarian bluffs that he's back, and the demon wants nothing to do with getting in a fight with, with the Lord of Dreams, and bails on it and whatnot. But we'll see what happens. But like I said, I'm really, really enjoying it. Like I said, maybe it's a nostalgia thing, but it tickles every fancy in me about, about this kind of a book. Man, the ads are bad in these books, these DC books. But yeah, I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm really, really digging it. Excited for it. I'm excited for all of these. We'll see how many of them once I start reading that I end up digging and whatnot. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Good stuff. Happy to have it back. So last issue of the second to last arc of Black Science. So I really enjoyed this issue. This issue kind of almost cracks our head, I think, in the whole, about mid to halfway through the issue, we get basically Grant's accepted the fact that he is literally just a program, and they are a virus that was put into the onion of the multiverse to basically destroy them all. Because everywhere he goes, a black hole comes behind him, and it just annihilates every place he's been. And they meet these other Grants that are completely alien, and these are the characters we've been reading this entire time. It's implied that they're just avatars, that these people are wearing these virtual realities and living like 1,000 lives in a few minutes, and that it's all, the whole thing's just a lie. And I was almost buying into it. I'm like thinking, oh my gosh, how is this last, this is the end of an arc, and there's one more arc and the book's done. I'm like, how's this last arc going to work if they really are just, they're not, they're real, but they're not real. They're just programs. They think they're real, but now Grant's accepted the fact that he's not real. He's a pre-designed construct that is going to do this thing. He doesn't have a choice in the matter. He's always felt his entire life, even when he was a baby, he has always felt that he was doomed to destruction. And now it's all coming to fruition, maybe because he was programmed. I don't know. And then, of course, the very end of it, the very last page, it changes maybe all of that, but I don't know. What did you think of it?
I thought it was it's definitely an interesting take, especially seeing Grant's character development from the start of the series, where he's like, we will be the masters of our own reality.
Right.
And now he's like he lost his intelligence to the witch to save his daughter. And I think at one point in this, he even refers to that. He's like, I used to be a smarter man, and back then I could have figured it out, but now I've accepted my fate. And then at the end of it, to see what happens to them and what could happen in the future, it's remember having another book on hiatus is definitely annoying, especially waiting for Lowe to come back all year. I tweeted at him in January. I'm like, are we going to see Lowe? He's like, sometime in 2018. And I'm like, thanks. We have like 2 months left.
Right.
But no, like the way this book flowed for this issue, like this is one of the ones I read today before work. Leading into that ending definitely has me excited for like how this book is going to continue, and kind of also it's starting to set in like this book is going to end. Like his other books are still ongoing, right, but this one he definitely like is coming to an end. Yeah. When I started seriously reading comics, I picked up like the first volume of Black Science to get into books.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for it too. Like I said, I was on this issue. I read it through. I'm like, wow, this is okay. So, I mean, because the idea was floated at the beginning. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's cute. There's no way. And then they're starting to like buy into it, and it's like, oh god, I mean, is this real? You know, and like I said, I mean, Sclera's art is always brilliant in this book. But these are the real Grant and his wife and stuff, and all these characters that have been named through the entire book. The implication is that these alien looking dudes are at the core. They're at the core of all. Like if there's an onion that's all the universes, this is at the very core. This would be the equivalent of Earth Prime. All other realities spun out of this reality, and this reality, this is what the people really are. And these people are avatars that they're viewing through virtual reality. They put on these helmets, you know, the glasses, and they're going through virtual reality. And these are just the people we've been reading for 38 issues are just avatars, is what it's implied in this issue, that they're just fake constructs. And Grant, in particular, our main character, is a construct that was designed to, like I said, somebody decided that the whole thing needed to be shut down, and this is how it's gonna happen, kind of a thing. It's him going through the multiverses, just annihilating everything as he goes. Except there's one moment where he's seen a prior version of himself, where an older version of himself, the bearded Grant, he's like on like the first date with his wife as teenagers, and this older bearded Grant rips the door open of the car, you know, from the future, and is yelling at him, "You got to stop this! You got to stop this!" And he's sucked away, and then of course he's pulled out of this virtual reality he was seeing. And he just, you know, he's kind of accepting his fate that this is not, you know, not what it really is. But then we get the final page, kind of pulls us all back from that. So it almost had a Matrix feel to it, didn't it?
Yeah.
When you get that last page, it's like, oh, they're pulled out of this, you know, virtual reality kind of a whatever. But I don't know. I'm really excited about it.
There's also that fun like juxtaposition between him and Sarah, where she's looking at them and she's like, "Oh, we're in heaven. These are angels. This is reality." And he's like, "No, this is reality. They're just monsters." Right. And they're both arguing like it's real, but it's not real. This is what reality is defined by. This is what it's not defined by. And then like he's like, "Oh, I accept my fate as this," and she goes, "No, you're wrong. You can't accept it, but I'll accept that they're angels."
Right. It's good. I mean, I've always enjoyed Black Science. Occasionally, it gets a little navel gazy. At points, there have been arcs that were that way, but I still haven't never disliked it. But really, this issue, the last couple of issues have really felt like they've been really on point. And this issue included just really smart writing, you know, more so than what it has been and stuff. So, and looking at the comments, Joshua Hayes says that he hopes that Grant gets some peace, some redemption, you know, by the end of it. And I'm the same way. I'm kind of hoping. I am rooting for Grant as much as he was this arrogant bastard at the beginning of this. All the stuff that he has gone through, you kind of hope that you kind of root for the guy that somehow out of this, that all the sacrifices that he's made to try and fix the mistakes that he did, that somehow he can be redeemable. I mean, because he's a pretty despicable character at the beginning. I mean, he's, cheating on his wife and doing, all kinds of stuff. He's just super arrogant, and to kind of see it all work itself out. I kind of hope he has some sort of happy ending, that he ends up being that old man sitting on the porch of the shack fixing things occasionally, kind of a thing, that he gets that. But
it's just funny, like thinking of like how deep and introspective like these last few issues are, and like especially like if you want to even mark where like the Grant going into his own backstory and like finding out about his own issues, like just the character depth and like the expansion that Remender's put into it. Take that and then just mirror it to the fact that like in the first story arc we had the Civil War never ended. Look at these techno shaman Native Americans and just like look at all this insane stuff I can do,
Right.
and to where it ended up now. Like,
Yeah.
there is no logical route to how it got here, and I don't want there to be, because this is great.
Right. Right.
Like, at first it was just, hey, this is a neat, like, what if this happened? What if this part of reality got changed? And now it's just like, what is reality? And I'm like,
Right.
what are you doing?
Well, in the beginning, it seemed like it was also so much about let's just let Scalera draw the most craziest thing he could. I mean, elephants tiptoeing on top of pyramids and just whatever insane thing we could come up with. Just let him stick whatever he wants to on the page, and I'll kind of work around it. Because I mean, that's what those first issues were, is this kind of mind bending art of just the craziest stuff that you could come up with as far as the entities that they were running into and whatnot. And then to shift into this, Grant's journey through all this stuff and whatnot has been. Agreed. It's been really, really cool. Yeah, for sure. Let's see. Shadow Roads. This is issue number 3. I continue to really enjoy this. I like this world, this 6-gun universe where you've got, the end of the Wild West and mysticism drawn in. I just continue to enjoy the heck out of this reality, and this story is interesting with this hunter character that's slowly killing off other mystical beings, and will only kill them when it needs the energy. So it'll annihilate one thing, and like somebody else will be there, and it'll be like, well, I could kill you now too, but that would just be to fill my stomach. I don't need you now. I'm going to let you mature, and when I need your power, I will come and hunt you down later on. Has been kind of the threat to this whole thing. Well, now he's there to kind of consume all these characters. There's like 3 different groups of characters that are moving around right now. I'm assuming that at some point they're all going to intersect someplace to fight this hunter that's slowly stalking them down. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I continue to enjoy yours. The AC Zamundo art is good. It's a good cartoon kind of a style. It's close to Brian Hurt's style, but is not the same. So it matches up well as feeling like it's still part of the same universe. But he's not aping Brian Hurt, but it's not as good as Brian Hurt's storytelling either, but still good. I'm enjoying it. Quickly, Clan Killers continues to be nuts. There's no way I can really talk about the book other than, it's this girl who's had a completely shitty childhood. She was she and her 2 sisters, her 2 older sisters, and her father were a happy family. This Celtic goddess comes down, who whispers in her dad's ear, basically makes him a bonkers for power and whatnot. He becomes a homicidal maniac that's like the king of this clan. Their entire castle and home area is all made of the skulls of their victims. He's full of debauchery and all kinds of stuff like that. The daughter decides she's sick of dad and his shenanigans and whatnot, and so she is going to overthrow everybody. She starts out by overthrowing these other clans. One clan is all vampires. In this issue, they wipe out the vampires. And she's got a motley crew of Celtic mythic things that are on her side, helping her, and she is going to battle her father. There are elements and parts of the book that are just, to me, just like tickle my fancy in every way as far as, what weird comic books can do and whatnot. And then there are other parts of it that just feel very tragically put together. Like, I don't understand how this artist and this writer can have really magic moments and then have these other moments where it just feels like they are literally falling all over each other on the page creatively. So I don't know. It's not a book I would recommend necessarily to anybody, but I'm enjoying reading it. I don't know. It's like I said, it's got moments that I absolutely love, and then other stuff that just, there's a headless dead guy who runs around with his head. He runs a stagecoach, and basically he's the equivalent of the Grim Reaper in this Celtic area. He has teamed up with Princess Fiona to overthrow the vampires in this part. So they're charging along, and he rides a wagon or a stagecoach that's got all these dead people and dead body parts in it, and all the body parts are their own animated things. So you see like hands running along and half bodies. So she's got this army of all this nutty stuff that to kill the vampires and whatnot. I don't know. I just like I said, there are elements of it that I think are absolutely great, and there's other moments where I'm like that doesn't even make sense on the page. So I don't know.
I know that wasn't like a glowing endorsement from you, but I still wrote it down so I can go find it somewhere.
Right. Like I said, if it's one of those kind of things, definitely, if you ever find it in a cheap bin somewhere, pick up like just issue number 1, because issue number 1 is going to kind of tell you what the whole thing's going to be like. Like I said, there are moments in it that like I said, I just think are amusing, but it was not a book I would ever tell anybody to go out and get. But I don't know. Like I said, there are elements of it I really like too. So yeah.
There's a shop down the street from my store that I work at, and they just have Aftershock like back issues everywhere. So like I usually go there to get books for that.
Cool. Well, yeah. Anybody got anything else you want to talk about? I got
Red Sonja issue 20.
Okay, cool. What's going on in Red Sonja?
So I picked it up because I saw Babs Tarr posted on Twitter like her cover for it. And I was like, that looks great. I definitely want to get it because I've been in and out of the Amy Chu run. Like I've enjoyed it, but it's not something I pick up every time. Right. They didn't have her cover. Still got it anyways. So a little while back, Sonja had lost her sword and she picked up another sword. And it turns out it's this famous like blade that belonged to this conquering king. And then during a battle, he loses the sword. He plunges it into a dragon and it doesn't kill the dragon. And the dragon just flies away with it still stuck into it. So then they go to the kingdom where this king supposedly lives to like return the blade. And he's been dethroned, and now they find him in a bar, like wallowing in self-pity because he went on so many excursions to find his sword that his people fell out of like loyalty for him. He ran his kingdom into bankruptcy, and some other guy just walked in and took power.
Nice.
So now Sonja and her 2 companions are trying to get him up and going to fight back against this evil king, and it's this big festival. So when they start fighting, people think it's like the entertainment. Right before the major battle where this king's supposed to lead his new people back into power, he gets plastered and he can't lead them anymore. So now it's up to Sonja and her friends to lead the battle. And in the middle of the fight, she goes to save the kid, falls off a cliff and lands in the water. And she's like, oh man, this ruins my day. And in the background, you see sharks. So like, what hijinks ensue next?
Right.
But it's good. Like if you're looking for like a bad fantasy story, like just this type of stuff.
Sure.
Like it's perfect for it. It's right up my alley for garbage comics, I guess.
No, that's the cool thing about comics is you can get so much out of so many different things, and depending on what your mood is and what you want to read, it covers so much different stuff. And I'm all for that. The deep, heavy stuff that we get comics for. That's just like, oh my, that's just well, like the Black Science we're just talking about. This really heavy stuff going on, this development of Grant and whatnot, and then you get stuff that's just a fun romp. Speaking of stuff we kind of forgot about and the Marvel stuff, it was announced that Jason Aaron's going to be doing a Conan book for Marvel.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for that.
And I'm going to pick it up because I expect it to be just meathead barbarian, chopping people in half, kind of crazy stuff. And sometimes that's fun to read too. I don't want everything to be the same.
This is the last page of the Sonja issue. Like this is what expect us to pick up again next month.
Yeah, right.
Like there's nothing too serious about it. It's just fantasy fun.
Right, but that's going to be fun, though. That's going to be fun to see her tussle with sharks. I mean, that's, and clearly all that chainmail she's wearing is going to save her.
Oh, yeah. At least it's not weighing her down in the water.
Exactly.
That's the upside.
Exactly. Good point. She doesn't have to strip out of all of it to not drown. Yeah, good point. Good point. Yeah. Let's see, like I said, that's awesome about comics is you can hit. There's so many notes, and so that's just great. The last book that I read this week is Stray Bullets, issue number 38. The Sunshine and Roses. This issue is extra large nuts for Stray Bullets. It's almost all exclusively Amy Racecar, which we have learned is basically kind of when Beth, one of our main characters here, when she is unconscious for whatever reason, she dreams of Amy Racecar, either about Amy Racecar or Little B, which is a child version of herself, and Amy Racecar is her imaginary I wish she was my mother type character, and she's like over the top, flies around a rocket and you know, is a super shot and all kinds of badassery and whatnot. And this is just her having lots of weird dreams with all of her friends being children and her trying to figure out, you know, is she dead? Is she dying? And we keep getting these glimpses of what's happening in the real world. And Beth is actually in a hospital bed, and she'll occasionally gain consciousness, and there'll be like a policeman standing by her. And then she'll go back into the dream world as she drops back into unconsciousness. And then she'll wake up and the cop's gone, and there's just a giant bloody smear, you know, across the door, like somebody just killed the cop. So you don't, I mean, because they've stolen millions of dollars. This is like, you know, 1980, you know, 1980s, and they've stolen millions of dollars from a coke drug king, and everybody's chasing them to get the money back and the drugs. They've stolen millions of dollars worth of coke too, kind of thing. So there all kinds of crazy stuff has been happening in the book, and like I said, we slowly get bits and pieces of what's happening in the real world, scattered amongst bizarre segues of different love ballads, and then she drifts into this, like I said, this childlike dreams and whatnot that happen. It's absolutely love Stray Bullets. It's just a brilliant book. The way it's written and whatnot is just amazing stuff. Like I said, anybody who's afraid to jump into this, because I get it. The book is told in a non-linear fashion, which means you can just jump on anywhere, read for a while, and you're going to figure it out. But I will admit that even though this says issue 38, on the inside cover, it says it's page 1043. So, you know, just to give you an idea how far the story is, but the story is not told in order. I mean, if you read before the book started coming out under Image Comics, when it was printed by its own under its own independent label, if you read the last issue of that, you know how this all ends. I mean, it tells you the end of the story. And now the story just fills in all the stuff that's in between the beginning and the end. And like I said, it's not told in order. I mean, they'll bounce around and tell whatever story they want to tell. It's just brilliant stuff. It is so good. If you're afraid to get into this because of that, but you want to read something that's by David Lamp and whatnot, IDW Black Crown imprint, the end of the year, I think December possibly, is when the book comes out. It's called Lopper is the name of it. So it's a lodger and a stalker. Put the two words together, you get Lopper, kind of a thing that they are doing for them. I don't know how long it is. I don't know if it's a short mini series or if it's how many issues it is. But I am betting it is. I would bank money it's going to be super smart, because most of his stuff is. Pick it up. And I'm saying that in advance of me having even read it. I just have a feeling of all the stuff I've read of his, there's only been one thing of his that he has done that he has owned that's been his own thing that I have not enjoyed. Everything else has just been really cool. So jump on that if nothing else. But that's it for my books. That's what I got this week. Anything else we want to talk about? Nope.
I got nothing.
Okay. Well, if that's that, then I appreciate you guys coming on and talking books with me. It's always great. No idea what next week looks like for me. I think it's homecoming, so I'm not sure how that's going to affect my schedule, but we'll figure that out with the kid. But and thank you everybody who came and watched the show in the audience and made comments and whatnot. Always appreciated. Sorry I kind of screwed up not paying attention to them to start out with, but I think we got most of the comments in there and whatnot. So until next time, have a great one, everybody.